Just wondering, what was your reaction last winter when you heard the team had signed Blake Snell, and what does he bring to the rotation?
You mean, sorry, can you repeat again?
Yeah. What
reaction to
what was your reaction when you found out the team was signing Blake Snell, and what does he bring to this rotation?
去年、今シーズンスネル選手とドジャース契約したことで、そのスネル選手がそのローテーションに入るということに対して、どういったリアクションというか反応でしたか？
サイ・ヤング賞を2度受賞している、投手と同じローテーション、同じチームメイトになれるというのはすごく、嬉しいことですし、実際にスネルからこう学ぶことはたくさん学ばせてもらっているので、チームにとってもすごく心強い存在ですし、僕にとっても、すごく、なんていう大きな存在だなと思ってます。
You know, because having him, his presence in this clubhouse is obvious. Like it's tremendous. You know, he won the 2 Cy Youngs, and then at the personal level, I get to learn a lot from him. So it's been great for me at the personal level too.
What does it say about the organization that you have had all this starting pitching and you wanted even more?
そのスネル選手を加入することで、そのローテーション全体にどういうふうにいいことがあると思いますか？
やっぱり厚みはすごく増したと思いますし、そうですね、はい、全てにおいてすごく、大きな存在になっていると思います。
He has become the big piece in this rotation, and also because for the team, and then he's giving us more depth in the rotation.
Let's go to Kirsten, second row.
2 questions. First, just to follow up with the Blake Snell conversation, you've talked about, and he has, how valuable your relationship has been learning from him. So just what have you learned from Blake Snell?
スネル選手が、山本選手からもいろんなことを学んでいるということで、山本さんの方ではどういうことを具体的にそのスネル選手からその学びがありますか？
試合後やっぱりこう試合を振り返りながら、また新たなことを教えていただいたり、そうですね、調整段階というよりはやっぱり試合のことに関して、教えていただくことが多いですね。
Yeah, because after my outings, we kind of review together the game I pitched through, and then because he tells me what he sees, and then so I think that's great for me.
Obviously, you faced Milwaukee earlier this season. Was not your best performance. I'm sure it was a forgettable outing for you. What adjustments or what did you learn from that outing that you hope to take into your start tomorrow?
明日、ブレワーズ相手に投げるわけですけども、その前回、ちょっともう自分でも残念な結果に終わったと思うんですけども、それがあって明日投げることどういう思いで入っていきますか？
前回は、かなりうまくいかなかったですけど、今はまた違う、ピッチングができると思いますし、ミルウォーキーの打線はやっぱりつながりもありますし、いいところでホームランが出たり、本当にいい打線なのは間違いないですけど、何としても負けるわけにいかないので、とにかくチームが勝てるように、全力で投げたいと思います。
You know, because like you said, last time I was here, you know, it didn't outcome wasn't like I was expected, and then obviously the lineup, it's a great lineup. They can hit a home run, string in hits, so I'd like to get myself ready the best possible.
Let's go all the way up to the top, Dylan.
Why did you change your hair?
なんで
本当にこんなところで話させていただく話では全くございませんけど、前回ちょっと明るめにしてたんで、なかなか美容院行けるタイミングなく、かなり伸びて明るくなっちゃったんで、少し暗めにして、質問ありがとうございます。
Thank you for the question. It's not really like a subject we talk about here, but thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. Because the last time, because my hair was kind of a little bit bright, so I just went and dyed it a little darker.
Let's go to Fabian, second row. Was changing your hair part of a response to the last start?
Your last what?
A response to your last start, sort of starting fresh after your last start?
前回の登板でちょっと残念な結果だったからその髪型変えたりしたんですか？
まあそういうわけではないですけど、また一つそういうね、いいこう流れの変わる機会になればいいかなとは思いますね。
It was not the reason, but I hope this helps to get things going in my direction.
What were you able to sort of take from that start against the Phillies, and is there anything that execution-wise you feel like you could do better this time around?
その前回のフィリーズ戦投げた後何がいけなかったっていうのが分かって明日入っていくにつれてそういうアプローチなんか考えてますか？
そんな大きく悪いところがあったわけではないんですけど、失点した回に、少しカウント悪くしたところから、甘いボールをホームラン打たれたり、その後もランナーなんていうんだろう、少しボールが甘くなって、その当たりがかなりいい打球ではなかったですけど、間を抜けていくような、ヒットが多かったので、ピッチングの基本的な、高さだったりコースだったり、そういった、基本の部分をしっかり大事にして、投げたいと思います。
Last outing, my stuff was not necessarily that bad. Just like it, because I allowed weak contact, breaking through the gap, because everything was not that bad, because hitting, getting contact-wise, giving contact-wise. So I think I'd like to focus on a little more a fundamental part of the pitching, such as a location and those things.
Any last ones in English? All right, we'll switch over to Japanese. Could start down here in the second row.
今フィリーズ戦の話ちょっとあったんですけども、フィリーズ戦ではカーブスプリットが空振りがなくて、でそもそも振ってこないという向こうがで、レッズ戦ではまず対照的だったんですけども、質そのものがちょっと納得いかない、それとも相手の明確な意思を感じたのか、その部分と、それに対してどう対応すべきだったか、明日の先発を見据えてそこをお聞かせください。
相手の待ち方っていうのは一つあったとは思いますけど、どんな待ち方をしても、いいボール投げた時はやっぱり空振りが取れたり、できると思うので、前回の試合は、試合の中で、明らかにボールだったり、ちょっとボール球が大きく外れたり、なんていうんだろう、細かい技術ですけどいろいろと気になるところあったので、それを試合の中で修正できなかったので、ここ1週間でしっかり練習しましたし、明日は自信を持って投げていけたらなと思います。
Go to the fourth row on the right side.
よろしくお願いします。レギュラーシーズンと違ってポストシーズンに入るとどうしても先発ピッチャーは継投がすごく早めになりがちですが、ドジャースの場合は結構長く投げてますが、短くてもいいというふうな考えでゲームの入り方、アプローチは変わりますか？
シーズン中から、初回から、1イニング1イニングっていうのは、自分の中で心がけていることで、初回からもちろんいつも全力で入りますし、ちょっと抜いて投げる回とかはないので、やることは変わらないかなと、思います。
Let's go to the far right in the top fifth row there.
よろしくお願いします。チャンピオンシップに進んでいるチーム2年連続で来ているのは今ドジャースだけですけれども、このメジャーに来てから2年連続でこのチャンピオンシップに挑める環境っていうのをどのように感じてますか？
本当に、すごくありがたいことだなと、思いますし、やっぱりチームメイトの戦いを見てても本当にすごいプレーが多かったですし、本当にチームメイトへの尊敬といいますか、本当にさすがだなと、感じました。自分もしっかりその一員として、しっかりチームの戦力になれるように、とにかくできることは何でもしたいなと思います。
Go to Nobu on the left side.
よろしくお願いします。レギュラーシーズンの投球を見てると、当然の結果だと思うんですけども、昨日監督がスネル投手と山本投手、2回このシリーズを見据えての
一番第1試合第2試合っていう起用だという話なんですけども、それに対してその重圧であったり逆に自信があって当然であっていう自分の中での気持ち、そのチームへの期待からの期待っていうのをどういうふうに受け止めてますか？
こういった大事な試合で任せていただけるっていうのはやっぱりすごく光栄なことですし、そういう選手で、そういう選手になりたいっていうのはずっと思ってたので、すごく嬉しく思いますし、こういった任された試合でしっかり、いい結果が出るように、とにかく勝つことだけを目指して、投げたいと思います。
Time for one more if there is. Anyone else? All right, Yoshinobu, thank you for the time.
Dave, the Brewers are going with a lefty opener potentially for a little bit longer. When you think about just kind of Shohei Ohtani, what you saw from him in the DS, him hoping to make just a few adjustments, is there something that will stand out to you that will kind of show, maybe not results-wise, but something's kind of clicked and he's getting back on track offensively?
Yeah, I think obviously, those guys, make sense that they're opening with Ashby. I think as far as Shohei, I think just have a consistent approach. The Phillies, they pitched him tough. We expect these guys going to do the same thing. I think just having a consistent approach and kind of what you're hunting is what all I'm looking for. And that's with all of our players, and kind of have an idea what you're trying to do and not trying to chase your tail, because then you start, being spiking, being predictable, and being pitchable. So, yeah, but I expect good things from Shohei this series.
Jack, third row on the far right.
Dave, Pat Murphy has not been shy about describing his team as the underdog in this series. I think he joked today he wasn't sure if most of your players could name 8 Brewers. Has this been a concern at all for you, just in the way these teams are viewed perception-wise publicly, that you guys are taking them lightly at all?
No, not a concern at all. That's just kind of how Murph is. He tries to get in the psyche, and he's telling his team the opposite, right, in the clubhouse behind closed doors. So we know the act. He's going to have his guys prepared, but no, we're prepared. We're playing good baseball, and we expect the same out of those guys. And all that, the talk isn't going to really factor in on, once the game starts.
And then teams make a lot of errors against these guys with the way they play. What is it about what they do that kind of leads to that? And how do you guys kind of get your guys prepared to try to avoid some of that defensively?
I think what it starts with is they give a hard 90. They run hard. They give a good effort. They try to be opportunistic on the bases, take the extra base. The batter runner is always aggressive as a trail runner. And so with that, it puts a little bit more pressure on the defense to be sure-handed, to be a little bit quicker. And so we're certainly prepared for that and understand that's how they play, and that's the way you're supposed to play.
Sonia, second row.
Dave, what was kind of behind the decision to add Kasparius and then remove Rushing from the roster?
With the rushing piece, we felt that Will is in a good spot to feel that we don't need to protect him to have a third catcher. With Ben, we just felt that having another right-hander to sort of be able to, take down a certain part of their lineup if needed. And Ben was pitching the World Series last year, so he's got some experience as well.
With Ben, do you think that not only the minor league stint, but maybe having a little more downtime these past couple weeks can help him get back to where he was first couple months of the season?
I think so. Yeah, he's throwing the baseball really well. We've seen it in the lives, and started off well. Then it kind of hit a lull towards the end of the season. But going to the minors and working on his delivery, the confidence, all that stuff, he's taken it and run, and he's in a good spot right now.
Anthony in the front row.
How do you anticipate using Kershaw this series?
I think with Clayton, I feel that you can use him against lefties, righties. I would say potentially it's a multi-inning situation. I don't really know the leverage plus or minus. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be available for whatever is asked of him.
Let's go up to Bill and then Jason, both in the fourth row.
Yeah, Dave, they opened with their closer in Game 5 against the Cubs, an opener now. You're probably going to see some more openers during this series. How unpredictable are they pitching-wise, and what challenges does that create?
You know what, I think it's not unpredictable because I think that, you know, the strength of this team currently is their pen. So how do they take down as many outs from their pen as possible is probably their MO. So it's not unpredictable. We're expecting it. I do feel that we have a lot of guys on our team that are pretty neutral, and so it's going to be hard to set up lanes for them to get sort of matchups consistently. So I feel that, you know, we're equipped to you know, take on anything they throw at us.
Jason.
Dave, you're in the middle of an October where you have a chance to do something that no team has done in 25 years, and that is repeat. What have you learned this year about why that's so hard? And is there anything about your approach to this season that maybe was different from 2021?
It's hard because certainly the playoff format doesn't lend itself to just getting into the championship series and getting to the World Series. So that in itself makes it more difficult. The other part of it is hard is, you know, getting guys to play their best baseball at the right time and to keep guys, you know, playing at a high level for 162 to get to the postseason, to then give yourself a chance to win 11 or this year 13 games in October. What have I learned? I've learned that you've got to kind of give players grace at points during the season to appreciate the human side of it's hard to play every game like it's Game 7 in April, but know when to kind of turn it on. And I do think that, you know, in that series in Baltimore, we turned it on from that point on. Even losing that series 2 out of 3 to the Orioles, we still turned it on.
Let's go to Steve on the right side of the third row.
Just the roster adjustment, Kasparius going in, was that just a matter of longer series, getting another arm in, or the reason?
As far as who?
Kasparius.
Yeah, that's more of driven by the 7-game series, and then going with 2 catchers versus the 3.
Second row. Yeah, Dave, since you brought up that Baltimore series, what was it about your message there that you think resonated with this team?
I think just giving everyone permission to let go of the prior, call it 5 months of the year, the inconsistencies of play, offloading all that stuff, myself included, to then go from that point forward and to play like a team that's going to the postseason, and how do we prepare and play like that? And it's hard to do that when you're carrying baggage of recency. And I think that we're all guilty of, at that point in time, carrying the here we go again type thing in all facets of the game.
Come back to Kirsten in the second row.
Dave, just quickly for Andy Pages, do you think how the NLDS ended, do you think there's something there that can kind of just ignite for him to get going here this October?
I hope so. I hope it's a confidence builder for him. You know, seeing his work, talking to him, he's in a good headspace, which I like. So yeah, I mean, he's been around a long time, you know, as far as the last couple of years, played in playoff games. So they're going to attack him with velocity. So, you know, we'll see. But I do think his confidence is starting to tick up.
Mike, down in the front.
Dave, you got through the postseason last year with the rotation pretty much on fumes there at the end. Just how reinforcing is it for you right now to have the number of options you have kind of lined up?
It's huge. It's a completely different construction as far as, you know, the pitching, and it's a good thing when your best arms in each particular game are going to take down the most outs. And so that's where we're at right now this year, where last year, knowing that your starter wasn't going to take down the most outs in most cases, tougher to navigate. So this is a much better situation, but we got to go out there and play well too.
And how much did getting Blake Snell last winter play into that and, adding to that depth?
It was great. I mean, he's a bona fide ace. Having him take the ball, feeling that, he's always essentially going to be the best option on the mound. And obviously with Yoshinobu, what he's done this year for us, taking another step forward, and, having Tyler come back and pitch the way he has been huge for our club, obviously, yeah.
Let's go up to Jesse on the far right of the fourth row.
Just a follow-up to that, Doc. Obviously, this is kind of the culmination of a season-long plan with these starting pitchers.
Yeah.
I mean, could have worked out any better in this moment, having them exactly where they are? I mean, did this plan start in spring training?
I wouldn't say it started in spring training. We expected Blake to be healthy, Blake Snell to be healthy coming out of camp. And then he just was balky, his shoulder. And then so to kind of put him on ice, to save bullets, to get him strong and for the duration, that's kind of how it happened, and wouldn't change that. There was some cost and having other guys take down some of the stuff in the earlier part of the season. Same thing with Tyler. We expected him to go wire to wire and pitch more than he did last year. But I think that, to your question, Jesse, we couldn't have had it any better as far as the workload where guys are at. And even Shohei, we were very methodical and, pitching him 1 inning at a time to 2 to 3 to 4. And so now to feel that he's built up in a way that he is, I think that we couldn't have, it couldn't have played out any better. So a lot of credit goes to, the training staff, the coaching staff, all those guys did a fantastic job.
We'll finish up with David, fourth row on the aisle.
Dave, will the outcomes of these 2 games determine when you have Glasnow and Ohtani pitch back at home, or is that already set?
Already decided. No.
All right, Dave, appreciate the
All right,
time.
thanks,
See you
guys.
post-game. All right, we'll get started with Dodgers President of Baseball Operations, Andrew Friedman. We can start with Russell here on the left, and then we'll go to Kirsten on the right in the second row.
Hey, Andrew. People are going to watch the series and obviously for the baseball, but see a big economic disparity between you guys and Milwaukee. I'm just curious from a front office perspective, what have you seen from how Milwaukee has built their rosters over not just this year, the last couple of years that have made them a perennial postseason contender?
Yeah. Brewers are a really good team. Team speed, defense. They don't chase, put the ball in play. They do a lot of things well. And I think the depth of their roster really helps them withstand 162 games and also puts them in position to be a really competitive team in October. So, I've known Matt Arnold for a long time. I think what him and his team have done is incredible. Not surprising, but just the attention to detail, the way the roster fits together, it's really impressive.
Kirsten, second row.
Obviously, the Brewers got the best of the Dodgers during the regular season. As you guys just kind of went back and looked at or reflected on those matchups and those series, what did you see that maybe posed to be the biggest challenge for the Dodgers? And when you go into this matchup today, how different is the team today, just considering you were without, whether it was Blake Snell, some others?
Yeah, we're just looking to win a game against them. Going 0-6 in the regular season, and we earned it. We deserved it. They pitched really well against us. We didn't have our typical kind of approach and game plan. They got us off that a little bit, which is helpful to have lived through and seen. We also weren't at full, months wasn't in there, and But again, they're a really good team and a really good pitching staff. So I think those 6 games and going through it and being able to post-mortem and look at that, I think will be helpful going forward. But, again, their pitching staff is really good, and coming off a series against a really good pitching staff, runs are going to be at a premium. Fortunately for us, we feel like our pitching staff's really good as well.
Let's go up to Steve in the third row.
You had talked about your background with Matt Arnold and how you weren't really surprised he's been able to do what he has here. Just from your time together in Tampa Bay, what did you kind of see in him that made you confident in his ability to do what he's been able to do here?
Yeah, he's a great evaluator. He was in the middle of a lot of things that we did and had success with the Rays. Really good evaluator, really creative, incredibly hardworking, curious, and just watching him continue to grow and develop has been fun to watch. Less fun those 6 games that we couldn't win against him this year. But he's really talented, and he's got a good staff around him, and just looking at the different moves they've made over the years, it's helped put him in this position.
Let's go to Mike in the front.
You already had very good rotation pieces going into free agency last winter. What made you say, hey, you know what, I think we need Blake Snell too?
Yeah, known Blake for a long time, and just getting a chance to watch that maturation over, a 12-year period and seeing that growth. We felt really strongly that not only could he help us in the regular season and accomplishing that first goal, but what he would bring to our staff in October. Everyone wants to pitch in October. I think for some, it is literally a part of their identity and what they yearn for more than anything, and I think Blake is one of those guys. And so in talking to him early in the offseason or even over the years, that part was clear, and I think just, he loves those moments, and, just betting on the pitcher, the head, how much he cares was something that he was number one target for us this offseason.
Let's go up to the far right to Bill and then Jesse.
Andrew, I'm curious, when you and your staff did your research over the winter about why it was so hard to repeat and what you needed to be wary of coming into the season, what played out the way you thought and what played out differently?
I haven't really had a chance to kind of think through the 25 season, living it day to day, but not really being able to rise above it to really assess. Living it, there were definitely some challenging moments. How much of that was residue of that, or just the peaks and valleys that happened over the course of 162 games? I mean, we talked about a lot this offseason that 2 potential pitfalls that we felt really good about. One was how our guys are wired, and that complacency wasn't going to be something that would set in, like them being focused on and driven by legacy and doing something that is so incredibly difficult. And the second was, usually if you're the last team standing at the end of October, you've used a lot of your pitching very aggressively throughout the month to do it, and we didn't really have that. Now our bullpen did, but didn't have it in the conventional way. And so adding some fresh arms we thought would be helpful with that. But the kind of day-to-day stuff I haven't had a chance to kind of reflect back on yet.
Jesse?
Andrew, just following up on Matt Arnold and the Brewers, just to drill down, if you can, for an extended run like they're on that you had in Tampa, what's the most important thing or two when you don't have payroll that you have to get right to make it through 7-8 years of making the playoffs?
Yeah, I think every market, every situation has its own unique challenges, and I think knowing who you are and what you need to do to have success, and it's different for every market, but staying true to who you are, having a group that works really well together. I think collaboration throughout departments is critical. Because you have to do it in a less conventional way. And I think identifying and leaning into the strengths and the advantages that you do have. I used to give this analogy, but when I was with the Rays, I was able to, if you think about a doctor, we were able to be knee specialists and know every single thing about the knee. We didn't have to worry about any other part of the body. And I came to the Dodgers like, oh my God, I have to learn everything about the body. And so in different situations, it's knowing who you are, what your advantages are, and attacking that. And I think they've done that exceptionally well.
Anthony, down in front.
How do you think Kershaw has handled, a role that he's obviously not used to throughout his career, and now still being part of this in a best-of-7 series? Where do you think he can provide value for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, the outing he had against the Phillies, it had been kind of a long period of time between throwing, and it's a different role. He would never make that excuse, but it was very uncharacteristic command from him, which you think of command and you think of Clayton Kershaw. And so I think him having experienced that will be helpful. His mindset all along has been, I want to do whatever I can to help us win. And he has embodied that. And I would bet on him to be a part of helping us win this series.
Go up to the third
Andrew.
row.
Dave touched upon it a little bit, but could you walk us through the decision to add Ben Kasparius to the roster when there's guys like Enriquez, Kopech, or even Kyle Hurt maybe that were staying hot? And what his role would be, sorry.
Ben obviously was big for us this year. It gotten off track a little bit. And so we sit him down and challenged him with what to work on, and he did. And, you can go one of two ways when those moments happen, and he chose the path of attacking exactly what we'd kind of laid out for him and put himself in a really good spot. And so going through this lineup and what we felt like, we had a lot of what we felt like were good choices, but felt like Ben was the right one for us.
We'll finish up with Jack, far right, third row.
Did you come out of the DS with any sort of concern level moving forward with Shohei offensively, given how he looked last series? And I know moving him back in the rotation is more about lining up guys on rest, but because he's not having to pitch one of these first two games, do you think that just helps that he can concentrate just on hitting here this week?
I think the biggest thing is the stuff that the Phillies threw at us obviously was really good, but even beyond that, I thought the execution was as good as it can possibly be. And so I think the combination of those things lining up, look, if a pitcher who has really good stuff executes at an A+ level, hitters aren't going to hit. Hitting is way too difficult. It's about hitting mistakes more than not. And they executed it on him at an elite rate. And so could some swing decisions help and, potentially get a mistake? For sure. But I think it was the most impressive execution against a hitter I've ever seen.
All right, Andrew, appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.